taxes, keeping my books straight, running a profit and loss statement, it all gets so confusing. I used to spend more time trying to worry about my taxes and if I'm doing them right than I actually did working on my business. I needed a solution. That is when I found Core Financial. Core is a team of tax professionals that actually care about real relationships with their clients. From the moment I hired Core, I was able to trust that I will be fully taken care of. They run my books, keep me up to date with my finances, and make sure I'm taking full advantage of all the tax breaks I qualify for. Are you struggling to understand your finances? Do you need help making sure you don't make any mistakes? Look no further. Core Financial. Both Nick and I are huge fans of Core Financial, and we know you will be too. Check out howtofilmweddings.com/core to see what they can do for you. Core Financial. Real relationships. No surprises.
Do we need to do that whole thing over again? I did not know what I was saying. It was like...
No, I think it's perfect.
Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller, and today, as always, surprised, I am joined by my good friend, Mr. John D. Bunn. John, how you doing?
John D. Bunn here live from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm doing well. It is getting really close to tax season, so the sweat drops are kind of on my forehead here today. Not really, because I have been working with my good buddies over at Core Financial. If you are still needing help with your taxes, I would strongly recommend howtofilmweddings.com. What?
/core. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said wrongly.
I said strongly.
Oh. I was like, what? Do we start over or we keep going? It's your call. I thought you said wrongly. Cut out.
Oh gosh. Okay, we have
keep
to
it rolling. Don't start over. No, we're just
okay. Then keep talking. Keep talking.
This is the intro, Blake. Do not cut this out. We are done with cutting things out.
Keep talking.
What I was trying to say is that howtofilmweddings.com/core. Nick strongly agrees that you should definitely check them out. They've helped me run my books. They've helped me run my taxes for the whole year. But even if you're just getting in touch with them right now, they can still help you save thousands on your taxes this year. So be sure to check them out. That's all I have to say about Core, Nick. Why don't you talk about what just happened?
What I want to talk about, what just happened, was not that awkward interchange John and I just had, but we have Paul and Kelley Gilster from 618 Studios on the podcast. They are Southern California, Orange County area. They are a husband and wife team. They've been married for 10 years, been shooting for about 10 years. And the thing that really drew me to them is their color. Their color definitely has the look of a high-end film photographer. It is incredible. Jen and I, my wife and I, have been drooling over their color for years, and they have actually just launched a new LUT that you can purchase, that you can apply to your footage to get it to look so beautiful that they have. But we talk about all sorts of things, including their color. So let's just go ahead and jump into this episode with Paul and Kelley. Well, Paul and Kelley Gilster, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. You run 618 Studios out in Orange County, California. For our listeners that might not know who you are, why don't you just take a minute and share a little bit about you guys and your business and how long you've been doing it and all that stuff.
You want to go?
I feel like we're more powerful when you started.
Oh gosh, wow. Well, it was International Women's Day yesterday, so here we go. Thanks so much for having us, guys. I feel like we're not cool enough to be on here for sure. But yeah, we are 618, 618. You could say it however. It's technically 618 because we got married on June 18th. Mm-hmm. But 618 works too. And I always find myself just saying 618, but yeah, we are husband and wife team. Mm-hmm. We started in 2010. I was actually still in college. We were both still in college, and we had just gotten married two months before that. And we're hitting 10 years this summer. So it's been fun. We've learned a lot, and it's been a good decade.
Yeah, that's great. You don't find many, people that have been, doing it for 10 years. And so you guys have been doing it well and doing it right. If you've been around that long, and being a husband and wife team, I know that's not always an easy thing to do. So why don't you take a second, and, just kind of share, when you started out, kind of maybe your pricing, kind of what you were charging, and then, kind of get into and share as much as you want to what a typical, 2020 bride is looking at whenever they hire you guys.
Yeah. Like I said, we got married in June 2018.
Mm-hmm. We were actually going to school for two different things. I was going to school for civil engineering, and my dream and goal was always to own my own civil engineering company one day. And so that was kind of just the path that we were on when we started dating and then got married. And then Kelley was going to school for, was it cinematography?
Film cinematography. The way that my school did it was I was a communications major, and they split comm between you were either on the public relations side or you were on the film cinema side. And I actually started off more on the PR side. I got into filmmaking in high school, but not really. I was I was going into, how you meet with your counselor beforehand, and they're like, oh, these are the electives you need to take. And so my counselor was like, you're a little short on electives actually, and I'm going to throw you into this video production class. And so I was like, all right. And she's like, advanced videography is the only one left. So, and I'm like, all right, can I do it? And she's like, yeah, you'll be fine. So I actually really loved it, and I really liked it. My teacher, who's still very much a mentor to me and checks in and sees how we're doing, he really kind of encouraged me, knowing that I was this new kid in the advanced class. And yeah, I really loved it. The only thing was that I noticed really early on that there wasn't a lot of girls in the class, that it was really male dominated. Not that scared me, but I am more of a sensitive person. So when all the guys lump together and they don't really want the girl on their team, that was a little tough. And so going into college, I was like, well, maybe that's just how it's going to be. So maybe I should just more stay in my lane and stay more in the PR world. And that's maybe more fitting for me. And then I just really missed it. And so I switched after my first semester. So, and then, what else?
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go.
Well, okay. I was just, so how did you fall into wedding? I mean, you got married, and then, 2, 3, 4 months later, you're starting your business. So how did that all, is that right? Is that right? Did you start your business just a couple months after you got married? Yeah.
Yeah. So what had happened was Kelley was, through this process of wedding planning and also going to college and doing the film thing, she was really trying to figure out what she wanted to do with film. Mm-hmm. I think we've had this conversation a lot, but she's like, I don't know if I want to go into Hollywood or kind of work on sets, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of rattling in her mind. And then, we had our wedding. We had a couple of our friends from Kelley's college.
Students in the film department shoot it. And that was kind of funny too, because I think as I was planning, wedding videography was just so bad that it was I don't even really want it if it's like this, because, being as a filmmaker and in school for it, it was I was like, if this is what it is, then I don't even want one. So, well, then that year is when the Canon 7D came out, and then still motion started shooting with them. And so I remember watching still motion stuff, and I was I can't do this, but and you guys probably know the video that I'm talking about. It was this beautiful video that I think Patrick.
Was it in a winery?
It was at a winery, and Patrick shot it all by himself. It was just this one that I always think about, and that was the one that
that was the film that inspired us.
Yeah, and I was like, I think we could do this, not as good because they're so great, but I was like, I think we can do this. And if I wanted to kind of be like this, so we rented out the cameras for 2 two people in the film program that I was with, and they gave us all the raw footage.
Yeah, and they hadn't shot on them before. They were just trying to figure out the settings and all that stuff on the drive down to our wedding.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things we still tell people to this day, you get what you pay for.
No, they did awesome.
They did
honestly,
awesome.
like looking back, they did awesome.
So anyways, we had this raw footage, and Kelley was kind of, she knew how to edit, so she was kind of putting stuff together, and then just, put it on Facebook to share with just our family and friends. And then it was our wedding photographer who was like, this is really good. Who made this? And, Kelley had just told her the story. And she was like, well, if you want to seriously, come into this industry, I'm going to refer you to all my brides.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of
That is nice.
Yeah, like foot in the door.
Yeah, I mean, we owe so much to her. It was just so cool. She was like, you know what, I have a wedding in August, and let me reach out to them and see if they have video. And they didn't, and so we did it for free. And we kind of just like scrounged up whatever we could. Like we had a small savings. We had just gotten married. We thought about like approaching like family members to like help us. And I remember we did approach them for it. And then as we thought about it more, I don't know why we ended up doing it. Either they didn't want to help us, well, not in that way, but
it's hard because we've been doing this for 10 years. And I think just now our parents are starting to realize that it's a real profession. So I can't imagine, being 23 and 22 and then trying to have a sales pitch to a family member that believes that your job isn't real. So I think that was probably the biggest one where we just like, let's just do it ourselves.
Yeah. And I think looking back on it, it was a better approach for us to build our business and get to know what we actually needed rather than just like things online that people said that we needed.
We would have overbought so much stuff.
Oh yeah, we would have made like terrible decisions. So we rented a lot of stuff. It was also great because I still had one more year left of film school, so I could the school had stuff that
we would rent our audio gear and various lenses and stuff from them.
Yeah, and so then we shot our first wedding for free. Then like 2 weeks later, there was a girl I went to college with whose brother was getting married like 2 weeks later. And was like, hey, can you do I saw this wedding you did, can you do my brother's wedding? And we shot that one for $300. And then we did one more, what was the third one? It was
that your professor?
No, that was like the fifth one. Yeah, then we shot my like cinematography professor's wedding, which was like stressful.
Your mom's friend.
Oh yeah, then my mom's, it was crazy, like how it spread pretty fast. So in 2010, from August to December, we shot 6. And so that gave us like a pretty good little kind of little portfolio to go into 2011. And we just kind of been like raising our prices like a couple $100 each time. Had no idea what we were doing. And going into 2011, I remember saying like, if we could do 10, like that would be awesome. Like I would just love to do 10. We were still like, I was a nanny for a family also on the side. Paul was a server at a restaurant. And then we ended up doing 30. So we transitioned full time.
I think you did it that summer?
Yeah.
Probably around June. And then I probably transitioned more in like December.
No, it was like September, I remember. Because we had a bunch of weddings that September, and you basically went to like he was a server at Red Robin.
And those are like the busy shifts. So trying to tell your employer that I got to get these covered makes it seem like you don't want to work there, which couldn't, be closer to the truth. But so I think that ultimatum was just like, all right, well, let's just do it full time. And I can't begin to describe how freeing it feels being that young and making that decision, because it's like you have so much ahead of you, that you can, take those risks and take those chances. Because we look back now and we're like, I don't know if we were this age we are today, with all of the, kind of stuff that we have going on, like if we would have made that same decision.
Yeah. So when I graduated from college, I was a youth pastor for 11 years, and I started the video business like 5 years, the last 5 years of that. And so I was 36 whenever I, left that job to do this full time. And so, thankfully, it's not really a thing. Whatever. I had to like pay for my own health insurance like the entire way because our church. So like I've always had that expense, and so like something like that whenever you're young and you don't know, and like because you know now if you had a job where you had the benefits, like with people talking, you know, in their 30s and they're like, oh, I want to leave and do this, but what do you do about health insurance? And like, you know, you have to pay. But whenever you're kind of just do that yourself all along, you know, that's it kind of makes it easier. I love what you said about, you know, you had your photographer that was like, man, if you guys want to do this, I will share it. That's kind of the first video we did. There was a planner that went to church with the girl whose wedding I shot. You know, I did like a save the date kind of video, and she saw it. So then she contacted me, and you know, that was kind of my foot in the door. I love what you said about how you actually rented gear. You took time to do that, and I think that's something that a lot of people when they're starting out is, oh, what do I need? And they just go buy instead of like actually trying to figure out what they do. And renting is a great approach to doing all of that. So your story sounds very similar, especially when you're like, we wanted to do 10 and we did 30. And it was probably because, you know, your price point was lower than it should have been, or you weren't, you know, raising your prices along, you know, the way. Tons of people we talk to have that exact same story. Yeah, my first full year I did 30 or 45 or, you know, however many. So, so what's now in 2020? So you've been doing this for 10 years. Now in 2020, what are you, how many are you trying to shoot a year? You know, kind of what's your average, you know, booking price? What are people getting? You know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So in 2020, our average booking is probably around 7,500. And that it's very like, we structure it very a la carte. We're making some changes in 2021. But basically, you know, we offer 3 different film lengths. So it's either like a 5-minute highlight, it's like an 8-minute short film, and then like a 13-minute full length, 15 minutes. And then we also offer documentary edits of the full ceremony, full toasts. We offer raw footage they can purchase, which I know like is very tricky on what if people offer it or not, but I feel like it's money left on the table if you don't. Like we've never had an issue.
But we also have a separate contract for the raw footage.
Yeah.
Just because it's a completely different animal when it comes to, you know, deliverables that the client gets. So yeah, that's helped us out too over the years.
Yeah. And then like rehearsal dinner could always be added on if they want to add that. And additional hours. I think that's it. Yeah, those things. And then,
So the packages, basically start out with film length and coverage.
Yeah.
So beginning would be like, you know, like a shorter film around, you know, 5 to 6 minutes at 8 hours of coverage. And then I think there's 3 other packages that just step up. Length of film and time. And then like Kelley said, all the cart items can kind of be added on. We try to get them to add it on before the day, but because we, you know, shoot the wedding very, like we have a very good, you know, rhythm and method on how we shoot. Most of the time we're able to, you know, create those films after the fact.
If they change their minds.
They can add on later too.
Yeah.
Cool. And then how many?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, and then how many are you guys shooting this year?
This year, I think we're at 22.
Yeah, I think, so for us, I think everyone has their own, you know, kind of recipe or equation on, you know, having your business have a longer lifespan. For us, I think we've just found that our sweet spot with weddings is around 25.
Yeah.
Just to not get burnt out, to really give each of our clients the attention and the care that we feel like we want to offer. So yeah, we try to like structure our prices and then structure our style to kind of, you know, make sure that we get that 25.
Yeah. And then also doing the commercial work during the week, that's a lot. So, I mean, we did 21 last year, but we also had a baby. So we had to like take a little bit of time off. And that felt like we shot 35. Like it was a lot of work. Just whole new one. That was our first full year of like actively pursuing commercial work, but then also our first year as parents. So it was a big year, and I feel like we're still kind of feeling it out on what feels good for us. Another thing that we do with our packages is out here in Orange County, we work with a lot of high-end wedding planners. There's a lot there. And I remember in 2018, there was a planner in particular who, she's just like a really smart business person. And she took a look at our packages and she was like, I just can't refer you because you're too cheap for my clients. And we felt like things were good. Like we were like falling in, like I think our first package was like just under 6 at that time. And she was like, my clients can't see anything in the 5s. Like it's because like I'm referring, she's referring like Jose Villa, and like his packages are way bigger. And like, I can't have a photographer who's like 25, 30 grand and then a videographer who's like 6. Like the clients just kind of think that
psychologically they just look at it and think, oh, it's either not as good or there's something wrong with it. Because most of the time, when you get into that type of high-end stuff, the clients are not, going through your reel and seeing what they like and all that stuff. They're kind of just going off of the referral of the planner. So.
So then what we did is we created a separate packages for those planners. Not that we just added stuff on top. It was like we made
just
it
up the price right away.
Yeah. And I know that some people will do that, and that's okay. But I think we just personally didn't feel comfortable with it. So so what we did is we lumped together. We just made a more like inclusive package. So basically, all of our collections will also include a documentary edit of the ceremony and then of the toast too. So that has us starting at around 75. So that has the collections then range from 75 to 12. And that's kind of what we're doing is we're just sending those out for 2021. So that's going to be a big jump for us. So we're seeing how that will work out.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I haven't said much at all. I've just been enjoying the story over here. Sorry, I've been kind of quiet. That's not like me. I'm just going to be honest. I usually am talking a lot, but before we hit record, I made a promise to not talk that much today. It's been killing me. But I did have a couple thoughts. Number one, it's always so fun to hear people's stories of how they got going. So 6/18 is June 18th. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is my wife and I's anniversary. Yes.
No,
really?
No way.
2005, so you were coming up on 15. Yeah.
Well,
so I was like,
so
I thought you said
cool.
that, but I was like, that's fun. I'll never forget their anniversary. So, Nick, we have something in common that you don't.
That is true. That is true.
Their husband and wife team, your husband and wife team. I have something in common with them that you don't. No, just kidding. But
That's a big one.
It's fun to hear the story of going from, we've had a lot of people on recently that talk about their beginnings and how they got going. And I think so many times in different groups and things, people will bust each other's chops for giving away a free wedding or doing some extra work to get, some referrals or building their business. And it's always so encouraging in a world that is Instagram this, Instagram that, where microwave mentality, where we just continually, can have whatever we want at the push of a button, to watch somebody that has built something slow and steady over time and now is able to charge, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for their wedding films. So it's very encouraging to just hear those stories. So, I want to dive into more of that. I do want to dive into more of you guys being a husband, wife. You just said you had a baby. But before that, I do have to shout out our Facebook group real quick. If you're listening, you don't know, facebook.howtofilmweddings is a great place, a great community to glean knowledge from others. Be sure to check it out, facebook.howtofilmweddings.com.
So tell me, what CRM do you use? If you're not sure or you don't know what a CRM is, I'm about to save you a lot of time and therefore money. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. Basically, a CRM is an online service that helps you better serve your clients. HoneyBook is both mine and John's CRM of choice. We absolutely love it. HoneyBook allows us to do all of our correspondence, contracts, and payments all in one place. One of the features that I love is the automated workflow. We all have emails that we send out to all of our clients, right? At 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, the week of. All of us do it. Automated workflows make it so that those emails can go out automatically. Since I don't have to take time to, 1, remember to send them out, and 2, to write them, I save time and make more money by working more efficiently. Are you interested in saving time on the business side of things? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook for a free 1-week trial. Also, because the Honeybooks really like me and John, we can give you $200 off of your first year, and that also comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook to start saving lots of time in your business. Oh yeah, legally I have to tell you that John and I are affiliates of Honeybook.
Do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday? But you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. All right, we're back from break, and before we were going to break, we were talking about you two as a husband and wife team. I know that Nick talks about he and Jen all the time. You guys just had a baby. Tell us just kind of what you've done, like preparing for baby and after baby to kind of get ready for business. How's that working for you guys?
Yeah, so our little guy's name is Micah, and he came as a surprise. We were, even though we had been married for 9 or 8 years at that time,
8 years, yeah.
we still were kind of, I don't know, we're still in like business building mode. We're still really excited about it. Our wedding, we wanted to kind of like move into another level of our weddings. And then also Paul was diving into commercial work and wanting to get that going. So, but yeah, so we found out actually in August of 2018 that I was pregnant. And we were so nervous. We were like, what is that going to look like? Like, we already had weddings booked like for the next year.
Well, it felt like a lot of our friends that had had babies that were in our same kind of, work, life, live kind of situation. They had family that was like closer. So, they could have, a mom or a grandma even, come and watch their kid, on Saturday. Whereas us, our family's down in San Diego, about an hour and a half drive. So we were just like, I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah. And so I remember we went into our very first ultrasound where they like predict your due date and stuff, how far along you are. And we had already had a wedding booked June 22nd. And then we had already had a wedding booked April 7th. It was like April 7th or 8th. And I remember she said, okay, it looks like your due date is May 6th. And we were like, yes, okay, this is going to work, because we just hadn't booked anything for May. Like, I don't know, just like, I feel like God just like really made it work for us. It was like a complete God thing. He did end up coming early. So we shot our last wedding that April.
Which, funny story, Kelley, I had to talk her down real hard. She really wanted to book that weekend. So I think it was like the 13th.
Yeah, April 13th.
April 13th. And I said, this is too close. We're just pushing it too much. I don't want to do it. And so, yeah, he came on that Saturday.
He came that Saturday. So we would have been.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically I worked up until like a week before he came, but he also came 3.5 weeks early, which actually worked out really well, because then we had more time on the back. Like it would have been only 6 weeks until I went back to shooting, and it ended up being like 10 weeks.
9 or something. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then, so now what does life look like? You have a little kid running around. What's 2020 looking like for you? How are you guys planning on kind of the busy season coming up and all that?
Yeah, so I think we have a pretty good rhythm and system on weddings, because, Kelley's mom and stepdad are super helpful with, coming up and watching him for us. And then my parents are super helpful. So we always have at least 2 solid plans that we can have, them watch him. And they also can do like overnight as well. So if we have traveling weddings or a wedding that might be a little more north, that will have to stay the night, they'll help with that. So I think what we're still trying to figure out, and I feel like that's parenthood in my limited experiences, you have one thing figured out and then there's always something else that comes up that you have to figure out. And so for us, it'd be like trying to figure out a good rhythm for corporate work, since all that stuff is during the week. So yeah.
I mean, we're still figuring it out, but we do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I know that's for anyone out there that has children or is considering having children, it's definitely an adjustment, for your business and, well, your life, period. And then, for your business and running it out and figuring it all out. But yeah, Paul, you're definitely right. Just when you get, one thing figured out, then, he's going to start walking around or, whatever, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, definitely fun part of life. I don't know what I was saying. It's fun. I like having kids.
Kids are good.
Yeah.
Kids are good.
Kids are good.
If you're out there considering having kids and you're scared by all of us talking about kids, they're great. It's a net win. There's a win.
They're great. So one thing that you've brought up a couple of times, and Kelley, before we hit record, you're talking about the corporate stuff, and Paul, kind of leaving the wedding business, to try that for a while. So why don't you just talk about, because I know there's a ton of people that are listening that supplement their wedding income with corporate work, or they've been doing weddings for a really long time and they're like, I'm kind of ready to get out, but I still want to do video stuff. So why don't you just kind of talk about your experience, real briefly about corporate work and your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, it's been funny. We've been doing corporate work almost since when we started, but it's been like always through wedding connections, like, oh, you do video. Do you do other stuff than weddings? And we're like, yeah, like we can do other stuff. But it's never been something that we have, tried to actually go out and find work. Because I feel like corporate, unless you can, kind of get solid clients that always want to use you for their video projects, which we have a couple. You kind of have to be a little bit more proactive in your sales and your approach in that way. And so I think, I forgot where I was going now.
So you went to school. Wow.
I think this is the kids. This is kids talking.
Oh gosh. So Paul, you went to school for engineering, and so you kind of had like a quarter life crisis.
Well, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's one way to put it. But I would just say, because being an engineer, I would just sit at the computer and draft all day. And it's just like, the more I sat there and thought, I was just like figuring out how much time you actually spend working, versus the time you're not. And it's insane how quickly that time adds up. And I was just thinking like, how much Kelley and I enjoyed video work, whether it was weddings or whether it was corporate work. And just thinking like, I would so much rather be doing that. But as Kelley had mentioned earlier, trying to supplement two incomes gets a little more difficult when you start getting into the rhythm of two jobs. So that was kind of my fear and what held me back for a few months from actually quitting my job to do video again. So I think, just enough of that thinking and then trying to map out a plan of, okay, this is how we're going to try and attract corporate clients. We're going to try and, go after these clients that need more of like, a branding story, because we love putting together that kind of stuff. I think that was just kind of what inspired me and what kind of just gave me a kick in the right direction.
And it was also, I'll add on that, like, it was also really good for us as a husband and wife team and for our marriage, for us to have two different sides of our business. So for the first 5 years, we did weddings only. And like Paul kind of, I think, always felt like an employee to me in a way, because weddings were like so much of my baby, and any like any business direction we went in was like kind of spearheaded because I said we'd go that direction. And
which I'm not complaining about because I'm very happy where we're at now. So
yeah, but you, I don't know, you also wanted kind of your own thing.
At the beginning I was in school and, always in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to be an engineer. So I'll help Kelley, be, the best shooter I can be for her. I wouldn't say I was a second.
No.
Because I would handle, I would handle all the groom stuff. I would handle all the audio. I would handle all of the, whether it was, slider or Steadicam or drone. That was my department. So, but then when it came, when we brought all that work home, she would be the main editor. She would be responsible for all of our Instagram content.
Just like all the admin things.
Yeah, all that stuff. So I always felt like, it was more her company. But yeah, I think having the corporate side has definitely allowed me to kind of, take a little bit more of the decision-making stance, which has really helped me. Yeah.
Helped our marriage too.
Yeah.
I bet. And so, you've got these both sides to your, to your business. You're running corporate, you're running weddings. I want to kind of transition the conversation back into your wedding work, of course, and talk a little bit about your client experience, the way that you're communicating with your clients. To be charging what you're charging, I'm assuming you can't just never talk to your couples, never really work with, the planners, things like that. So why don't you talk to us about just like your thoughts and processes for taking care of your clients? What are you guys doing to just really go above and beyond for client communication, taking care of clients, taking care of wedding planners, photographers, things like that?
Yeah. Client experience is probably like the number one biggest thing for me. Just in everything that we do, from that initial inquiry to delivery and just that whole process. Communication's huge, like just the words on emails that you use, and also just your presence on a wedding day. I feel like I always kind of take little bits of things, whether you're at like a fancy restaurant or a high-end hotel, and it's like how the staff treats you, or just
a nice clothing store, or
a nice clothing store. Like I always, whenever I walk into places like that, I always kind of like turn on my like learning switch, where I'm like, I want to kind of pull something from this. Like what sets this store apart from another store? And like from kind of using all that stuff, and I don't know, like I feel like I try to pull that into our business with weddings too. And, being in Southern California and, right in kind of LA, there's a lot of filmmakers here. It's not like we're, it's probably one of the biggest spots for filmmakers. And so setting yourself apart, not only your work, but your client experience, I think has like what has gotten our business to where it is today.
That also translates well to, like how you have conversations through email, through phone, with planners, with photographers.
Yeah.
Because I feel like probably like 95% of our weddings is referral based from people in the wedding industry. So just, your presence either on the wedding day or online or wherever really affects those referrals for us. So
yeah, and it's kind of interesting as we've moved into a different price point of weddings. There's actually less communication with the client than there was when we were in the lower, lower end market. I remember like back in those days, it was like a lot of coffee shops and like in-person meetings, and we rarely have those anymore. I think it also just might be like the culture now, with FaceTime and things like that. But I would say a lot of the times we're mainly just talking with the planner, because the couples that we have hired a full service wedding planner, and like that's their job, is to pitch them vendors and take care of all the logistics of the bookings. And I remember it like really bummed me out in the beginning, because I miss, having those like really cool, genuine connections with all of our clients. And every once in a while we still get the client that like wants to meet us, and I love it. Like I totally welcome it. And I always tell the planner too, whenever we get an initial inquiry, I make it a point to say like, we would love to meet with the client, like if they want to. And so we're totally open to that as well. And I'm trying to think what else.
Well, I would say one thing you didn't touch on too was, I mean, like the, client experience goes all the way even to like when we deliver the films. So Kelley has spent probably a good part of like the past 5 years trying to figure out, what is the best way to get films to our clients. And so you have even just the little packages that we send the flash drives out in, and now you're upgrading your flash drives to more of a sleek, kind of cooler little thumb drive.
Yeah, I'm still big on like delivering a tangible product. I just think there's like a lot of value in that. And I know for myself, when I receive, and I know there's a lot of digital delivery out there, which like I love, and I'm sure there's going to be a time where like we're going to have to go all digital delivery. We kind of give clients an option on like what they want to do, but it's all standard that it comes like with a tangible product. But I just think that like getting that thing in the mail, and like we send out like our packages to a calligrapher, like it's very professional. Getting samples of different USB drives that have like great weight to them that just feels really expensive and nice. Like just those things is all things that that I've looked into and spent time on. I don't know. I just think it's really important.
One of the things that I like that you said, Kelley, is whenever you go into a business establishment, a restaurant, a clothing store, whatever, that you feel kind of maybe they have the type, like their shoppers are kind of the kind of clients that you like to work with. You are paying attention to how things are written on the menu, kind of the fonts that you're using, what they're wearing, how they're acting, like all of that kind of stuff. And I think that that's a really smart thing, because so many people, especially newer videographers, when they're starting out, they're not paying attention to that kind of stuff, and they just say, oh, I want this client, but you're not like looking for maybe ways that you can bring that up and bring that about. So that's really good. Another thing that I think that you're helping as you're moving up into the higher end kind of clients, I think your color plays a really big part, the coloring of your films, and we're definitely going to talk about that here in a second. But one question I had was, what are you doing for, as you're now primarily working with a lot of planners and not having as much contact with your clients? What are you doing to work with them? How are you communicating with them? How are you serving the planners that you're working with, I guess?
I could talk about this.
Well, I would say, just to bring up the PDF with the pricing guide.
Oh yeah, we could talk about that later. Yeah. I would say, I think probably about 3 years ago, and I will say that a lot of the mentoring that I've done, or that I've received, is actually from wedding photographers. I haven't really sought out a lot of mentoring from filmmakers. I just think that photographers have just in general, they've been in the industry longer. It's a lot more of a saturated market. Like they have to like make sure that they're providing a great client experience. And so looking at the ways that the industry is moving through photography is how I feel like we flow our business too, because we also work so closely alongside them. And so that's kind of where our colors became a huge part. I would like work with a friend at a coffee shop who's a film photographer, and just kind of seeing her colors. I remember being like, why can't my films look like this? Like, if this is what your client is valuing, like think about how much value they'll place on their wedding film if it looks like this. Like if it's beautifully composed, beautifully lit and colored. And so anyways, I also, one of the things with that was that a few photographers had encouraged us, like, you really need to get into wedding planners. Like, we started actively pursuing relationship with wedding planners, and that has completely changed our business. So, so we started doing the same thing, and we are not salespeople at all. Like, we hate like I can get this kid to like one industry event a year because he's like, I hate like the whole like.
And it's funny because I always find like that one or two people that really want to talk about anything but weddings. So we'll talk about traveling. We'll talk about like our hobbies and stuff
sports,
like that.
All that stuff. So yeah, we're just like not the schmoozers at all. But yeah, just forming like really genuine connections and relationships. And I think when you work with planners, and they see that you take care of like their couples, that speaks volumes into your company, and they really value that. Like, for example, we had a wedding last year where we went to go leave, and the planner was like, you stayed way past like the time that you were supposed to stay. And I was like, I know, but like then the dance floor started getting really good, and the bride's mom came on the dance floor, and like I just had to capture it. And she was like, this is why I love you guys. Like, you're so committed. Like, and so she just knows that like we're going to take care of her couples. And so, she refers us throughout the year. And also I remember we had another one last year where it's with an amazing wedding designer, and like we love her work. Every single one of her weddings gets into Martha Stewart. And so the wedding was running really long. We knew we were going to have to stay over. And we were talking to the photographer about are you going to charge for your time? Are we going to charge for our time? Like, we just were trying to feel it out on like, we knew we were going to be staying like an extra hour and a half. And the photographer was like, I'm not, like, I just don't work with like Heather enough, like who's the planner. And I was like, yeah, like I feel the same way. Like, let's be in it together. And like and she noticed, like, I'm sure she noticed that like we stayed and we had her back. And, you don't want to be taken advantage of, obviously, but just kind of feeling out, like in our experience, you'll just kind of know like when's a good time to like scratch someone's back.
Well, especially, the longer that you're in the business, it helps you know what to say yes to and what to say no to. Because, we've said yes to things that we thought were going to push our business forward, and they didn't. And so, that we kind of remember that and be like, okay, next time this comes along, we'll look at it a little differently. Like, okay, maybe it's not the best for our business. Just...
It's all things you learn through time. Like, I feel like there's not one thing that works right for everybody. And you just kind of have to feel out what's best for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. There's one, and I know I've shared this story before, but I was working with a planner in town last year, and she was talking about this photographer that she had worked with, and she said they were some of the most incredible images I have ever seen. And I love the images, but the guy was terrible to work with. And even though they were the most beautiful images ever, I'm never going to refer him because he was terrible to work with. He didn't listen to me. He didn't, he got us all way off time and all of that stuff. And he just wasn't great to work with. And I would much rather refer someone that is good, not as good as him, but I enjoy working with them, and they will take care of our couples. And so as we're talking about a big thing that John and I really push is service, and, serving your couples well, but also serving the people that you work with very well. And if you are genuine about that, you are definitely going to get into some weddings that maybe they wouldn't have noticed you otherwise if you didn't have those things as a key component to your business. So I definitely, we're finishing up the episode here soon, but we definitely want to talk about your color and your new LUTs that you have, and we will mention that right after this break.
We know the time suck that is searching for the perfect song for your wedding film. MusicBed has spent years collaborating with artists, bands, and composers to make it easier than ever for anyone to find the right song for their video.
With amazing artists like Chapters, Tony Anderson, and The Light, The Heat, MusicBed is the best place for wedding videographers to get licensed music.
Their subscription service was a life changer for me, especially since all of their subscription music is pre-cleared for every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Love Stories TV, and my personal favorite, YouTube, all pre-cleared.
And if you are interested in a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. When you sign up, use the promo code HTFW and you will get your first month for free. All right, and we are back from break, and one of the things I was really excited to have you guys on for was your color. I've followed you, I don't know, for 4 or 5. I followed you guys for a while, and one of the things that my wife has told me forever is she was like, their color is the most video that looks like film videos I've ever seen. Like, she's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I think that we think that the color is spot on. It is incredible. It has a look. I think a lot of videographers maybe want that more light and airy, more film look, but it's just really, really hard to get video to look like that, and somehow you guys have figured that out. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and then let you talk about your new Illumlets that you have, and some information about that. But right now I want to ask you our question of the day, presented by Wedditor. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. And it is simply this: how long has it taken you to kind of get your color process, your coloring all figured out, so that you can have these films that look the way that they look?
I think we were probably about 4 or 5 years into our company, where I really started, challenging myself to color our films in, I hate saying like light and airy, like I would say like film inspired, medium format film inspired. Basically kind of that, like, if you think of a fine art photographer, we just really wanted our films to emulate that fine art feel. A lot of it really had to do with just understanding light. So we just had to go back to the source. Like, there's really going to be no LUT or video preset that's going to be this magic fix-all if you were in a terrible dark hotel room while the bride's putting her dress on. Like, it really stems from understanding light really well. And so I would say we are, we really strive to be to capture our day as organically as it happens. I'd say the only sort of, I don't know.
Kind of like directing or.
Yeah. It would be just directing them in really good light, because that way we're able to color our films in order to produce that same quality of work that all of our clients see on our website.
But I think it's important to remember too, just with it being a live event, I can't think of maybe 1 out of 50 weddings where we come back and we're like, that was a perfect lighting day.
Yeah. How many, have you guys had that where you left a wedding and you were like, yeah, where you're like, that was a perfect lighting day. Like, everything
And you guys live in Southern California, where you literally have perfect light.
So I was going to say, the weddings where I go to California, I'm just like, I am so jealous of Southern California. The light just looks so much better there. Like, it really is so much better. It's like, I'm filming and I'm like, man, I'm really good at what I do. And I'm like, no, God made this place the best place on earth. That's what happened.
Yeah, we're lucky in that sense. But yeah, it's something that when we took that approach 5-6 years ago, we then started to notice that photographers were noticing. So it wasn't just something that we were doing because we liked the style of it. It was like, I'm referring you to my clients because I like that your films look like my work. And it also yielded in clients having bigger budgets, because when they book a film photographer, typically film photographers are at a higher price point than a digital photographer. Especially
if the product looks similar. I mean, you just expect to kind of pay around the same amount.
So yeah, that's been really awesome. And so yeah, we've been tweaking our flow, really, really diving in and looking into what makes up film scans, what the greens look like, what the skin tones look like, really crisp, clean whites and really deep, dark blacks. And so as we color our films and as we created our LUTs, we created them with all of those things in mind.
That's great. So we have a lot of listeners in all different stages of their business. I want to talk to the newer listeners real quick. The people that are still trying to figure out their style, trying to figure out how to use their cameras. What tips would you have for beginners, people that are in their first few years of shooting? What kinds of tips when it involves lighting or, color correction? What would you give them as tips of just some be sure to be doing these things?
Yeah, so in starting the very beginning part of the day, the prep, just making sure that you're bringing your subject closer to a window where there's natural light. A lot of times, even we'll go into a getting ready room when we start and the bride's getting her makeup done in
the master bath or something.
Yeah, where there's no light. And so rather than like stopping the makeup artist like right then, I'll just ask for like some touch-up shots afterwards. I'll maybe go out and shoot some stuff of the venue, and then I'll ask the makeup artist, hey, when you're, getting close to those last final touches, can we bring her out closer to the light? And so we'll pull her out for that. For her dress, we'll bring her out to, the window too. We'll have them go get the dress, bring it out. And then for like portraits, things like that, really focusing on backlighting them, focusing on, capturing details in the best lighting possible. So we'll find that table that's in really good, pretty light, and we'll, really focus on capturing the details of that table.
Yeah, or like, if we're shooting, say, wides of a reception that's specifically outside, like Kelley said, just figuring out where the sun is and trying to do it backlit. But I will say one thing that's also a great way to kind of show that you're really good to work with the planners is asking them what angle they like their reception at the best. Because, as you work with more full-scale planners, these planners have been looking at this design for however many months, and so they have it specifically in their head what it looks like. And so I think, we had a conversation with a photographer who brought that up, and it just kind of opened my eyes up too. Yeah,
like when you walk into a reception space, this is like kind of a fun tip that we learned is like, hey, like, do you have a favorite table? And she'll be like, oh yeah, like, and they always do. It's so funny. They're like, oh, this one's really beautiful. I love, like, this is my favorite centerpiece, and I love this table. And so we'll try to shoot that table. Or if things are maybe running a little bit behind, and we've all been there where it's like grand entrance is in 15 minutes and we haven't even shot the reception space yet, and you're just like panicking, and then you have servers running around like lighting candles. We'll go ahead and like, take that approach, or take that time to find a table that's in really pretty light, and then we'll just tell the planner like, hey, let's like light all the candles on this one first, and let me just shoot it here. I kind of got off subject, but just kind of a tip.
Bringing it back, I would say just natural light. Natural light is your best friend starting out.
And also, and this might be like totally wrong, and I know that I went to film school, so I get it, but like
the rules.
Yeah, I'm totally okay not preserving the highlights. Like I expose for skin tones. I just really want our clients' skin tones to look really good. And so when I, shoot the subject, I'm exposing more for their skin tones.
But then also knowing there are some angles that, like, you do kind of have to expose for everything. So I know for me specifically, a bride coming down the aisle, where if I'm shooting that backlit, I might, or I will, kind of save more of the background and the highlights if it means, less, stuff in the shot's going to be blown out. So, I mean, with all of these kind of rules that we have, there are give and take, but a lot of that is just choosing what light you're, placing people in your shooting stuff in.
And all this stuff that you're saying definitely fits with this high-end, photo feel that you guys are going for. And there's, especially, if you have more of a darker or more contrasty kind of color palette, you're going to film it a little bit differently. You are filming it in a way of, I know like what I want my end image to look like the color and all of that kind of stuff. So, learning that kind of stuff is going to help you in beginning with color, is kind of figuring out the final, what you want the final product to look at. And I like how you guys said that LUTs really don't help you if it's filmed poorly. Like, there is no magic. I think that that's a problem that a lot of people have had with LUTs. It's like, I applied this LUT to my footage and it looks like crap. Well, you still have to, color it. You still have to tweak it. You still have to change it. And if it's filmed bad, that doesn't really matter. So I wanted to give you guys, just in the last week of us recording this, launched a new LUT pack, a new product from you guys, and it looks incredible. Like I said, my wife and I have been, very envious of the look of your films for years. So why don't you, share with our listeners what that is, and then where they can go to pick it up if they're interested in buying those.
Yeah, so we've really never done like a workshop or like any formal thing like that. We've done personal mentor sessions for the past few years, and like every single mentor session, the question that we get is, how do you color your films? And so we decided, I think like we want to make this available to everybody. And so over the past year, we've been really fine tuning our LUTs and, making them so that everybody could have them. And so our LUT pack includes 7 different LUTs. They're all similar color palette, but they're created to be applied in a variety of lighting scenarios. So the first standard one would just be titled Illume, and that's kind of for your really beautiful light. It doesn't really need a lot, just a little bit of boost of colors and tweaks into more of that film look. And then Illume Soften, that one is more for kind of like a mixed, if you're in like some dappled light, if you need to raise your highlights up a little bit, your shadows, and then you can do that. That looks really beautiful. And then we do like Illume Warm if you're in a cooler scenario, Illume Boost if things were underexposed. So they're all kind of created, like I said, wedding days, you're presented with so many different lighting scenarios. It's a live event. Like, you don't always have control. And so each of them are kind of created to get you to that desired look faster. And then from there, you can like tweak in your basic corrections, kind of just to taste. Some people like their skin tones a little bit more on the pinker side. Some like them a little more on the greener side. And so you can kind of play around with those too.
Nice. And if people are out there listening, where do they find them?
Oh yeah, so they find them on illumeluts.com.
Perfect. And I believe there's a special for the How to Film Weddings listeners. Do you mind telling us about that, what you guys are planning on doing for the listeners?
Oh yeah, for anyone who is listening, we also have a promo code for 15% off our LUTs. Shoot, guys, I'm forgetting, what is it? I'm trying to think of the thing.
HTFW 15.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. So that's very kind of you to get 15% off at illumeluts.com. We will post that in the show notes for sure. So 15% off with HTFW15. So by the time this episode airs, all that'll be ready to go for you, so you can definitely check those out. It is crazy. I will say I've been a big fan of Nick and Jen, their color for so long. So whenever Nick was like, we've got to have these guys on because I'm a big fan of 618's colors, I'm like, let me check these out, and they really are beautiful. And so it does, the thing that stands out to me is like, I think a lot of filmmakers just try so hard to like match someone else's look just to match the look or whatever. But the thing that stands out, that what you're saying, is that you're actually physically charging more because of the way that your films look, the color, when you have this kind of a look. And I know when talking to other people that are changing more into a higher priced market, they're wanting to do, have color palettes that are very similar to the fine art photographers, because it makes sense. Like if you're hiring somebody that's, charging $20,000 for photography for fine art film, and then there's a filmmaker that is, super dark and moody or super like whatever, and it doesn't match, it's going to be hard for them to want to refer you. So that really stood out to me, just like that look goes a long way. A lot of people don't know why, like they like it, but they know that they like it. And so that was huge.
And also one thing I just wanted to mention too is where you said like it's hard for that dark and moody photographer to refer like a lighter looking fine art filmmaker, is because of just how the wedding day is captured. Like, we're looking for the same light that the film photographer is. And so we're placing our subjects all in the same light. And it just makes for so much of a more seamless workflow. It's not like the photographer has to go pull the couple to one spot and then we have to pull them to the light that we want. We can just really work alongside each other the day of. And I think that's why we work with, another reason, not only because of our coloring, but just because the workflow is just so seamless. That's been really nice. And totally, if we end up working with a photographer who maybe is their style is more into flash or things like that, it is a little more challenging because we do have to pull our subject and place them in the light in order for us to like achieve that look in post.
Yeah, totally.
Love it. Nick, I'm looking at you.
Oh, I asked you to do this part, but whatever.
No, you
So
didn't.
I sure did.
Where? Where'd you ask me?
I'm going to highlight it here on our document right there. So if we are running out of
highlight on
time,
the document where I just asked you right there.
oh, I didn't see that part. Okay.
Oh.
Anyways, okay.
Boom.
Oh, this is
Like-
you're seeing.
You-
This is the real raw.
You guys are fun.
podcasting
This is your
world.
this is your marriage right here.
Right. It
Honey,
really
just
is.
close
really
it.
is.
Close it down. No, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so Kelley and Paul, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast today and talking with us. So you have illumlutz.com. I think you also have an Instagram with the same handle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where can people, if they want to see your work and check out you guys and that, where can people find you?
Our Instagram handle is 618 Studios, and then our website is 618studios.net.
Okay. There we go. John's telling me something right now.
No, I'm not. You're good.
Okay. Oh, this is very fun. Again, Paul, Kelley, thank you guys so much for joining us on the podcast today. We really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Thanks so much for having us.
We had a great time.
You guys made it so easy.
Yeah.
Kelley and Paul, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. If you're listening to this, we want you to check out howtofilmweddings.com. There we have all sorts of digital things that you can purchase, like our budget guide. It will help you plan out the next 3 months, but also the next year, and help you run your business better and more smoothly. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher, and until next time, we will see you.
We'll see you.